Welcome aboard. Today we have a very special video. Today we are predicting the future. And yes, much like Nostradamus, I can predict the future, and the future is electric. No, not electric in terms of propulsion. That we're still a long way off from. Water is way too thick, boats are way too heavy, and well, salt is way too salty. Plus land is way too far away. Also, there's that thing called a sailboat, which everyone keeps forgetting about, that already exists. What I mean is that the average pleasure boater, the one that isn't running a hydraulic stabilizer or bow thruster or windlass, doesn't need a generator anymore. That's right, the days of the 110 volt nonsense are over, thanks to this little paperweight over here. That's right, it looks like just any old plastic square, but it's actually a power station. And I'm gonna give you my full review of living with this thing for 2 weeks and why this one, or many of its competitors, is your new solution to house power. This box here is called the EcoFlow Delta Mini. If you wanna know what that model means, I have no idea. EcoFlow has a lot of different model names. What I can tell you is that it's an 882 watt per hour lithium ion battery, and I'll put a link in the description below so you can see all the specifications on it. A few important facts I will tell you about it is that it's supposed to be 23 pounds, which is one of its lighter, more portable options. It is supposed to maintain 80% of its battery's health over 800 charge cycles. And it was the best deal I could find at the time to get the best watt hour per dollar. I bought this one at Sam's Club for $452, and while I don't know how that compares to other brands and sales throughout the year, at the time I purchased it, it was the best deal for a couple of reasons. Reason number one, which I mentioned earlier, is the price per watt hour was the best I could find. I did actually buy another one from the same brand that was 500 watt hours for $330, so this one gave me about 25% more bang for my buck, which as far as I could tell is actually pretty uncommon, because looking these things up, a lot of them are about the same watt per hour per dollar. If you end up wanting one with twice as much power, you have to pay twice as much. Another reason I went with this one and not 10 cell phone battery banks is because this one has 5 110 outlets on it, the ability to charge with solar panels, and the ability to charge with 12 or 24 volt power systems. As somebody with a 12 volt battery system, this was huge for me. It means that I could wire a charger into my boat's electrical system and have a semi-permanent charging solution in case I ever need more juice. Of course, I do think that this thing would probably drain my batteries. That's why I only use it when the engines are running and the alternators are spinning. But as someone who's too lazy to put out solar panels and too cheap to buy them, I run my boat once a day to charge the batteries up anyways. But even if I did buy solar panels, this magic box would take 12.5 hours to charge if you got the 60 watt panels. Of course, you could spend an extra $700 and get the 300 watt solar panels that'll charge this thing in 2.5 hours, but then at that point, you're really digging into your watt hours per dollar. And on top of that, those times are with peak sun power, which doesn't happen for 12.5 hours a day, unless maybe you're in Alaska. So I don't know if you'd ever be able to get your charge up. Anyways, enough with the numbers. You can go crazy trying to compare the numbers of all these things to each other. I saw the 882 watts per hour. I saw that it could be charged off of a car or a 12 volt battery system, and I closed my eyes and I picked this one. But let me pretend to unbox this thing for you. I'll show you guys my experience with it and why I'm happy that I did end up with this one. Hey there. As I mentioned before, mine came from Sam's Club and it showed up in this rather dull cardboard box. Inside the cardboard box, there were chargers, like the main one for 110, and then another box of chargers that have your stuff for your 12 volt and your solar panels, and a user manual. However, things got a bit quite more interesting because when you pulled out the EcoFlow from the box, there was this nifty sticker on top. And what the nifty sticker said was pretty much that they don't plastic like other people plastic, so your plastic might be kind of weird plastic. Or in other words, their manufacturing process is a bit different and their plastic might have some discolorations on it. I believe that's what this line, this big line here across the top is. Anyways, when it did arrive, it came with about half power. It comes with this little helpful interface on the front here. This interface shows you how much percent the entire box has left of life in it, as well as a time readout on it, which will show you how long you'll be able to continue charging all the devices you are currently using. You can see that demonstrated here if I plug something in, like my microphone case here. This gauge goes from hours showing around 50, and it drops all the way down to showing it has 21 hours of power left for however much consumption this little thing's using here. All the functions are pretty straightforward. There's a big yellow power button here to power up the machine. Did take me a while to notice, but there is an off as well. Instead of just letting it fall asleep, you do want to hold it down and turn it off. You can see it says off right there. If you do not turn it off, it does have a sleep mode. However, I found that the sleep mode actually does use some power still. You could tell it's in sleep mode because this light that is currently solid now will actually blink, and when you put it off, that light is completely off. On the front, you have some of your more traditional charging stuff, like your USB-C, as well as your old school USBs right here. And then on the back is where you get all of the more high power charging. There are buttons back here for you to turn on independently the different types of power. You push this one if you want to use AC power, and you push this one down here if you want to use DC power. Those will turn off when you turn the whole power system off. However, you do have to turn these buttons on every single time you turn the unit on and that you want to use it. Sometimes they go off on their own, which means that you cannot permanently wire this thing somewhere into your boat without access to it, because you will need to come and push these buttons to turn on your outlets. However, EcoFlow on their website does have bigger power units that are designed to not be used as personally, that you could integrate into your boat. Now, let me show you what life living with this box is like and how it all works. Leaving Friday morning, I unplug the power station with a full charge and decide to give my laptop and iPad some juice on the way to my destination. By 11, I've made it to the island and I'm finishing my Friday workday in paradise. In the meantime, the girlfriend has to have a floaty, so I use the 110-volt air pump to inflate the toys. Calling work quits, I charge the iPad for later. 6 rolls around, it's time for some pasta. Without cracking open one propane bottle, I boil water on an electric kettle. Day 1 comes to a close with 2 cell phone charges. Day 2 starts up with some more hot water and a friendly neighbor who needs help inflating their floaty. No immediate need for the rest of the day. The Magic Box holds its charge well and is doing fine. Before bed, the power station charges 2 more phones through the night, and in the morning, we're up using the pump to deflate the toys. Overall, a successful weekend of working, being iPad kids, and refusing to use a foot pump or propane. You can then rinse and repeat for 1 more weekend on the same charge, and by weekend 3, you can start thinking about plugging her in. I will say the Delta Mini definitely outperformed the other 500 watt EcoFlow I got. That one was called the River. Not only does it have almost twice the power storage as the River does, but it has a higher boosted max output, which means that it could run the kettle, whereas the River would shut off. And of all the things I put through this thing, the kettle absolutely used the most power, even more than the air pump. Either one you choose, that concludes my 3-part argument why in 2024 you do not need a generator for your weekender boat. And in the very near future, you won't need a generator for your liverboard boat either. For those of you that disagree, I'd like to point out that EcoFlow does sell 15 kilowatt hour power stations that are less expensive than putting in a new generator. And also, they even advertise shore power charging. So with that, the case is closed. JakeSea has seen the future. Thanks for watching, and smooth sailing.